Hello everyone, today we're looking at some mines up near Greenwood, Providence Mines. There's a bunch of mines in a complex there, right close to Greenwood. This is the slag pile on top, or a waste rock pile on top, looking towards Greenwood there. And this is the one building that's left there, the shack there that's still standing. I'm not sure what it was used for, near the bottom of that slag pile there. And here's another shot of that slag pile from the top there. As you can see, we're just like a stone's throw almost from Greenwood there, a little bit to the east of Greenwood there. And from the bottom of this complex, there's quite a few mines in this complex. The Providence one is the largest one, but we're all going to call it the same mine. We visited three different underground areas there. Right there where the Providence mine is, I believe the portals are all sealed there. There was one that had water in it, and there was one that was sealed, but the dog was standing right on top of the one there, and you can kind of see through it, and you could really smell the rats in there, so I suspect you could probably maybe dig it out a little bit and get under there. I don't know, we'll have to leave that for another day. But so we're at the very top there, just looking at that massive pile of waste rock there. So you know there's a pretty big mine there. This looks like it was maybe a part of a tramway or something, a bucket that was carrying waste rock or ore up and down there. I'm not sure. Who just took a picture. It was kind of an interesting artifact there. I thought maybe it was part of a set on a cable or something to bring ore up or down the mountain, but I'm not really sure. I'm not an expert on these things. The next thing we're going to look at here, I think, was it has it's like a heat exchanger in there. I think they use that to heat water for some purpose or another. It looks like a heat exchanger for a cat, but it's a great big huge heat exchanger. And this is the mine here. The dog was pretty interested in there, and you kind of looked down there. You couldn't get down there. And this is another bigger mine that we looked at, and it went in about 300 feet or so, but there's nothing too much in there. And this is a big reservoir there where it looked like they had water reservoir or something there. You notice the old pipe there? It was an old wooden pipe made out of wood. It's a pretty old pipe. And it's like a big swimming pool there. It's a reservoir I think they use for processing mine waste close to the creek up the top. And now we're about midway down the mountain there. We're just showing you the kind of ground how it's been disturbed quite a bit. You can tell there's quite a bit of mining there. A bunch of these holes may have been covered up. There's still quite a few there. We went down three different ones that day we visited there, just right above Greenwood there. And you look at the ground and you notice it's kind of all been a lot of cat work done over the years, and material's been pushed around and been disturbed quite a bit. So you can tell mining was pretty active there at one time. Doesn't look like there's been anything done there for quite a while. You can really just walk up there right from that tunnel. You just pull over the side of the highway and you see that old tunnel from 1913. Go right through the tunnel and you can just follow a trail right up, and you can see all this stuff. It's only a few minutes off the highway. It's right pretty much in Greenwood. So here is a big shaft there that we didn't go down. Obviously that one just goes straight down. Don't know how deep it is. A little bit of a fence around it. Not much of a fence. And there was a bunch of other holes around here that we did go down. This one here, can't remember which one these. This one we went down. It didn't actually go that far. It was kind of interesting to go in there. Went in there another 200-300 feet, I guess, and kind of followed some leads in there. They're mining. Looks like maybe copper or gold in there. Not really sure. There's no railway tracks going into these mines, so it's just kind of following some veins into there. So relatively small mines, but interesting to go through just the same. So this is kind of outside the one of the lower levels of that whole slope there. You can see the streets right at Greenwood, right by the highway there. And some of those holes, like I say, were covered up. Some of them hadn't been. It's quite close to where that big shaft goes straight down. And this was the longest one that we went into. I'm actually going to go right and show you some stuff inside there. So here's the top of it there. So it's fairly steep going down there, but not real steep. It's not so steep that you can't get into there without having to worry about sliding down. That hole goes down probably about 300-400 feet at a pretty good angle down there. So there isn't a big drop off or anything there. So normal person wouldn't go in there, but way I go. So we're sliding down in there. And we're going to show you some footage underground here. It's not the best footage, but it's probably about as good as it can get with the GoPro camera. There's an old cable there, still kind of anchored in there. And then there's also some copper wire. So they must have had some lights set up down there. Some bare copper wire still there. A few dollars worth of copper there. Somebody if you want not much there, eh? I don't know how many pounds of copper there is there, but so this goes down or branches down into quite a few veins here. Now, there's about 5 minutes of video of this here, so if you're fed up with the quality and just leave, that's the rest of the show here is just about that. And that's about as good as you can get. Now, the problem is, there's just not much light down there. So we went down there, and it goes down to about, follows some kind of a narrow, I don't know what you call it, passageways in quite a few different directions. It's not a huge area in there. It maybe only took about 10 minutes to go through everything under there. But it's quite interesting, fairly narrow in some areas, so the light's not as bad as it could be. Looks like they didn't have a railway there, so basically they would have had to winch everything up through small carts or something up to the top there. But this looks like was probably maybe the major part that they mined near the bottom part. Up near the top part, the actual maybe Providence Mine, you might want to call it. They mined a lot more material here, but it's still a fair size excavation under there. It branches down about 3 or 4 different parts, and it's fairly narrow in there. You can kind of have to duck your head in there. And it isn't like a tunnel through there. They just kind of, there was a deposit in there and they mined it all out of there. So it looks to me like maybe it was some galena in there, which would be lead, zinc, and silver. And possibly maybe some gold in there, because there's a white quartz vein we'll show you here in a bit that they mined in there at the end of one of the areas that they mined out here. So this is kind of, you see, this is the kind of a quartz vein here. You can see it's white quartz, and that's usually where they'll find gold in there. So it's right at the very end, about as far as they got down there, and you can kind of see a narrow quartz vein. I think that's what they were chasing in there at that point. They don't know whether they got any gold out of there or not. There it is. You can see that white quartz vein right at the very end of the one mine there. So yeah, just kind of following that quartz through there. And I think that's what they were looking for. They probably thought that was maybe going to get wider, maybe there was more gold. I don't know if that mine was terribly successful or not. There's just a chunk of quartz at the very end of that mine. So that mine kind of goes down at a pretty good angle, and then it goes sideways a bunch of different places. There's no artifacts or anything in there, but it's kind of an interesting little walk in there. It's not very hazardous, in my opinion, though I'm not an expert in mines there. It doesn't have a very high ceiling in there, so it's pretty, there's not much to fall down there. It was shored up in a few areas, a moderate slope going down into there, and we'll just kind of show you what we, the cameras we went down. I'm probably going to maybe try to rig up some kind of a camera. We need some better lights. It's very difficult to film this kind of stuff. This is about as good as it'll get, because it's a fairly low ceiling, so we have some light in now, and even though it's not good, I'm going to perhaps rig up a backpack with some 12-volt batteries and some lights, and we'll try to in the future see if we can just get some more light in there. It's a real challenge filming in here. It's pitch black basically, and there's very little light, just a little bit of light on your camera coming down, but it is what it is. So that's all I can show you is what I have here. So so we're just going to kind of continue walking along the floor of this and look at some of the rock on the sides of the walls. And it's a little difficult kind of walking with one hand and holding the camera with the other, and going up and down. But there wasn't any rats in that point there. I didn't smell any rats in that part. There was a little bit up near the top there, but there's nothing, no real special hazards in there. So I've got 2 channels. One's I'm going to stick all my aviation stuff in one channel. It's going to be called Canadian Aviation Adventures, and this other channel we're going to be putting quite a bit more of this mining stuff, and especially try to get some better pictures in there. And it'll just be under my name as my original YouTube channel. It's just Frank Schlichting. If you do a search for that, you'll find it. There'll be a couple links at the end of this segment here. If you click on them, it will subscribe you or take you to a subscription page of the 2 channels that I have. So if you're interested in looking at more of this stuff, this is part of a box, I think. A dynamite box. It looked like it was a sliver of a box. But like I say, there wasn't too much in there, but I enjoyed going down there and scrambling down that slope and back up. And I'd like to go down that steep shaft one day. So here's the tunnel, and we're just crawling back up there. Hope you enjoyed the show. So there, if you click on this here, that'll be on my Frank Schlichting channel. And this one here, if you click on this, if I get this link done, that'll be for the aviation, Canadian Aviation Ventures channel. And maybe if I can do this here, if you want to send me an email, click on that. I'll probably go to my email.